Welcome in everybody to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and this is BP NFL. It's time to look ahead to the wild card props. That's right. We've talked about the games all damn week. And now it's time to talk about the individual players, because there's lots of ways to make money in the NFL, and sometimes it's betting on the dudes to go over or under. And to help me do it, of course, is the Welsh and the Undertaker himself, Andrew Erickson. We're going to hang out, talk about some of our favorite props on the board, talk about some touchdown calls as well. And it's an exciting time, man. What a great week of football between college and NFL. We got a lot of things cooking here over on Betting Pros. So make sure you, again, download the Betting Pros app. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel also, because when you do, you can join us live 4:15 Saturday. Texans, Chargers, Bogman, Pisapia, all of us together in one spot. It might be the most entertaining way to watch that game, to be honest. That might not be the most entertaining one on the slate, but we're going to do our best to make it so. Join us at 4:15 Eastern. We are going to be taking you through in-game live betting for the first half of that entire game. Scott Bogman, myself, right here on Betting Pros channel. So again, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell till it goes ding, so you don't miss the live stream. We want you to be there with us. Make it the perfect second screen experience for you. All right, boys. Let's dig in. Let's go. I know everybody's hungry. We got a lot of games, a lot of props here, a lot of time to think about it. So let's start with you. Let's start with you, Welsh, here. One of my favorite guys going into the year was Ladd McConkey. You are all over here, Ladd McConkey, too, in this game. And again, on Saturday, we're going to be breaking it down. So let's talk about McConkey, what you see working here with this offense, and what the number is and where you want to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, Ladd is the guy, and that's the main thing here to focus on, that he's continuously getting the ball, and his receiving yard prop is pretty palatable. It's 72.5. It actually has been floating around. It dropped down a yard, went back up. People bet it back up. So it's sitting at 72.5 as we're talking about this. Second best wide receiver to cornerback matchup, according to PFF, of the entire super duper expected, spectacular weekend, or whatever the new names are. It's the second best wide receiver to cornerback matchup. He's hit this receiving yard total in 6 of his last 7 games. He has had 6 or more receptions in 5 of his last 7 games. He's had 18 targets over the last 2 games. And then here's the other one. If you look at receptions, it's kind of like a really good bet. We always, yards versus receptions. Reception total is at 5.5 with heavy juice. So they're implying 6 receptions. Ladd has never not hit this receiving yard prop when getting 6 or more receptions in his career so far. So they're implying he's going to have 6 receptions. He always goes over 72.5. It's actually in the 80s when he gets 6 catches. So if you believe he's going to have 6 catches in this game, you got to smash this receiving yard prop. One of my favorites of the weekend.
Love it. Love the justification for it, too, the way you broke it down there with the receptions and going over. And he has been that guy. And the Houston Texans, look, I know they have a good pass rush, but those tackles are really good for the Chargers. So I think that's a little bit of a neutral script right there for those two. All right, let's get to you here, Andrew Erickson, for your first. And, of course, I expect nothing less than an under.
Yes, I'm going to go Lamar Jackson under 224.5 passing yards. Lamar has faced the Steelers twice this season. He has thrown for exactly 207 passing yards in both games. That is under 224.5 for those that are new to math. So we're so far we're feeling good. Furthermore, Zay Flowers officially ruled out today on when we're recording this, so he's not going to play. He was the number 1 wide receiver for the Ravens this season, and in the last matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers, when Lamar Jackson finally exercised the demons, he will not have Zay Flowers in this matchup. Last 3 games, he's thrown under this number, 224.5. In 5 of his last 7 games, he's also thrown under this number. So for me, I think this is easy. I think that if the Ravens end up winning this game, it's going to be because they're going to run the ball with Derrick Henry, run the ball with Lamar Jackson. I don't think this is a very good passing game for Lamar Jackson against a team and defense that has had his number in the past. So I'm going to go under Lamar Jackson passing yards. I expect this number to continue to be beat down as we get closer to Saturday.
All right, so there you go. Still planting flags on the Baltimore. I can't believe you guys have made a Ravens fan out of me all week. You and Terrell Furman Jr. are really doing it to me here, Erickson.
It's too many points. It's too many points.
We'll see. I think the Ravens have found a new gear, and I don't know if the Steelers have another gear left in them. But Welsh, speaking of the Steelers, you've got a George Pickens prop here. Pickens was he played, but he really show up last time we saw him. So what happens in Wild Card Weekend with George Pickens?
Well, he's going to get a big reception. Now, here's the little negative, though, is Erickson and I did the prediction show on FP, and I talked about this. This prop has already moved 2 yards in like a day because it was way too low. But the positive, this is still palatable and we're still going to rock this. And what it is we are going with a longest reception. It was 23.5, which sure was pretty. It's now 25.5, but we can still do this because prior to his last game where he was shut out, he had 8 straight games with having a 30-yard reception or longer. 8 straight games. I'd had the marker of 11 of 14 games this season. He had hit the 23.5. I believe that still stands. It might be 10 of 14. He had 12 targets in the last Ravens game and caught a 37-yard reception. I think the Ravens are going to be winning this game. I think the Steelers are going to be throwing and playing from behind. And if there's one thing that George Pickens does is he just gets long receptions. He might have one catch because that happens sometimes, but it'll probably be for 30 yards. That's where this goes. Again, before this last dud disappearing act where he dropped every ball, 8 straight games of a 30 or longer reception. So 25.5, 2 yards higher than I liked it before. It's absolutely still in play. I like that bet.
I think this is the best way to go about Pickens this week. I think he nailed it. And I think it's because you really, it's hard to trust Russell Wilson in this Steelers offense right now. So can you trust that one big play from Pickens? Probably, because that's the one thing they've been able to do when Pickens has been healthy. So, Andrew, I see you're chomping at the bit for the next one here. Let's go and stick with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This backfield here, Najee Harris, very consistent guy, but a little underwhelming. Maybe a little bit more Jaylen Warren in this contest.
I mean, I hope so, because I can't play him less than I did last week because he was ghost. I honestly could not believe they just did not use Jaylen Warren in any capacity, but I thought that the process was good with him with the receiving yards last week. He got 1 target, but I'm going right back to it because he's still been consistently hitting this number, going Jaylen Warren over 19.5 receiving yards. In fact, he's gone over this number at an even higher number. Warren has at least 25 receiving yards in 6 of his last 9 games against the Baltimore Ravens. In his 2 matchups, he's had at least 27 receiving yards in both games. So if we find that the Steelers are chasing points to cover that 9.5 point spread, I would expect Jaylen Warren to be out there. Maybe, again, I don't know what happened last week where I know he was on the injury report with a rib injury. Maybe that's why they decided, let's run Najee more. I got to imagine they're going to use Jaylen Warren more in this spot if they want any chance to win because he's their most exposed to running back. So give me Jaylen Warren over his receiving yards.
All right, so Jaylen Warren over. Remember, everybody, we're getting this with the prop bet cheat sheet. So go to bettingpros.com/props or just download the Betting Pros app. Again, get the 30 free days or the 3 free days of the premium, depending on what code you use. FP free is the code for the 30 free. But if you haven't already done that, you can also get the 3 free days too when you just get into the Betting Pros app and use the prop bet cheat sheet. Please. You'll find all the props there for all the games. You could sort them by the different types. You could sort them by the position. You could sort them by the game, anything you want to find the best props. And you're going to find the fantasy projections to the prop, the over, the under, and the best place to bet it. So literally sync your sports books, find the best spot there on the BP app to bet the props using the prop bet cheat sheet. Next on our list, a big name, Justin Jefferson. The number is 6.5. A disappointing contest, certainly for Justin Jefferson last time out. Lots of what ifs in the red zone. But Welsh, is there a chance this is different on Monday night?
Yeah, I think so. And I didn't set these up by game or anything like that. I really did put these closer this week to what I really loved. So just so people know, because I'm jumping around here a little bit, this is actually the first bet that I locked in for the week was over on the receptions. Obviously it was a dud last week where he only had, 3 catches, but 9 targets. 9 or more targets he has had though in 4 straight games. Overall, in this matchup, we know that Justin Jefferson is going to get a massive amount of targets. It's funny, I wrote some Lions stuff in here where he had got cooked, but he has hit this prop besides that last game with the Lions where they stopped him in 5 straight games. So 5 straight games, he has hit this prop of over 6.5 receptions. Last game dud doesn't mean much. It's playoff important. 6.5 receptions is a very good line. And the juice has moved up a little bit. It went from 110 to 105. Which is still implying that they think he's going to be stopped a little bit. I do not. Justin Jefferson, 7 receptions. Lock it up.
All right, locking up Justin Jefferson. Andrew Erickson, back to you for another pick here. This is one I've already bet to because you know how I feel about the way the Packers are coming into this game and how I think the Eagles are going to just dominate this one. But despite the fact of that game script, I think Jordan Love is still going to struggle against this secondary, against this defense in general, and in this environment in Philadelphia. The number 226.5 of the passing yards. Undertaker, don't fail me now.
I will not. Hopefully not,
Okay.
at least. So Jordan Love under 226.5 passing yards. He's been under this number 3 straight games, 5 of his last 7 games played. And you talked about how good this Eagles secondary has been basically since their bye week. Only 2 quarterbacks have actually finished over their passing yards projection. It was Lamar Jackson and Jayden Daniels. So it's already hard enough to throw on the Philadelphia Eagles off defense. And then you're factoring in, well, he doesn't have his number one big play threat and Christian Watson. And these other guys, you don't know if they're going to catch the ball. Between Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, these guys are dropping the ball all over the place. Without Christian Watson, last 2 seasons, he's played 10 games without Christian Watson. 70% hit rate towards the under on his passing yards projection. And he's only gone over his passing yards projection 1 time on the road without Christian Watson. So I like the chances really here that this game is a underplay. I talked about it on the Best Bets show. I like the under in this game. I think it's more of a grind with 2 teams that want to run the football and play defense. So not a flashy game for Jordan Love. So going to take the under on his passing yards.
All right, our anointed waiver wire pickup of the year on our Fantasy Pros special. If you missed that, go back and watch the award show. It's on there from the live stuff. And of course, make sure you watch our Accountability Buddies special too, because we were accountable for a lot of things, but Bucky Irving is certainly accountable. We were telling everybody to pick him up. He had a really good season. The number for him for rushing yards is 86.5. It's a big number. Welsh, you're going over. So am I. I want to hear what your theories are on this one.
You know what's really funny about this one too? We'll go and look at like sides and totals and we'll be like, that's fishy. That's fishy. Sometimes props are fishy. This one is the fishiest of fishy. Go and look at projections on these. Even let's use DK for a minute. They have put projections on these now. You see 86.5 for Bucky Irving. What's the projected? 68 yards. Rachaad White, very tempting. What's his projection? 38 yards. But what's his prop? 14. They're dying for you to take Rachaad White, which by the way, I kind of want to take Rachaad White here.
That's such a low number.
It's the fishiest of fishy things you've ever seen in the prop market where they're showing you projections wildly different. So why are they doing that? Because Bucky Irving has been a monster. He has had 15 to 20 carries per game over the last month. We've seen. And some of these projected numbers come from some of the early carries. His first game on the season was against Washington, where he had only 9 carries. So there's still like a little bit of that's floating around with Bucky Irving. But that's why I'm not buying it. I'm buying in on Bucky Irving getting the book. We had 9 carries from Rachaad White over the last 3 games. So that's influencing that as well. The main hit here as well is Washington is giving up the 4th most rushing yards to running backs on the year. Over the last month, they've given up the 6th most rushing yards. This game is going to go through Bucky Irving. I'll also throw you out here. 16.5 was his rushing attempts. So again, you took it rushing attempts. They're implying 17 carries for Bucky Irving. You give me 17 carries, he's probably going to push 100. I'm going to give you one other prop I almost jumped in on Bucky Irving. Longest rush, 17.5. He's hit this in like 4 of his last 5 games as well. There's a lot of Bucky Irving love here. The projections that want you to take that Rachaad White one, I don't want to do it. I'm going to go on the side of Bucky Irving. Rushing yards is the bet, but rushing attempts, longest reception, both in play.
Basically, we're all in on Bucky Irving this week.
All
there
in.
you go. I'm all in on that over too. I think this one is going to be, hey, Andrew said this is the popcorn game. Sunday night, get the whole family together, watch some football. Maybe not a whole lot of defense, but hopefully a whole lot of offense, and hopefully from Bucky Irving. DeVonta Smith, an enigma, I would say, this season in the Eagles offense. So that being said, is this another opportunity, Andrew Erickson, where you might be maybe fading towards the under of some props for him?
Yes, because DeVonta Smith has just found a way to get away with it because he doesn't produce at a high level when all the other guys are healthy in the offense. So I'm going to take the under on his receptions prop at 5.5. So he's played 1 game the season where he's gone over 5.5 receptions. That was week 1 when AJ Brown and Dallas Goedert were both in the lineup. Now, the Eagles somehow, some way have had a ton of injuries at their receiver position, at tight end. Saquon Barkley has missed no time because he's a running back, of course, and he's going to stay healthy the entire year. But we haven't seen all 3 of these guys really play that many games together between Smith, AJ Brown, and Dallas Goedert. And when that happens, you don't see necessarily one guy see a ton of volume. So again, only one time, that was all the way back in week 1 in a really weird game against the Green Bay Packers. So I think both defenses have improved drastically since that game. I don't think this game is going to be a shootout. I don't think Smith gets anywhere near 6 catches when Saquon Barkley's got to get 25 carries. Like they're not going to be throwing the ball a ton. So I'm going to take the under here on DeVonta Smith. I think this number is wrong, to be honest.
Yeah,
And
it
just they're
feels
looking
very
at
high.
the season long numbers when it's not considering, well, these guys have all missed time. And that's what's kind of boosted DeVonta Smith's numbers overall and his averages.
Yeah, I would agree with that one too. All right, one more from everybody, and then back to the touchdown calls. Let's start with Jayden Daniels here. So again, if we're starting to write the script, Welsh, where it seems like a game that's going to potentially go for the over, then that feels like Jayden Daniels is going to be slinging the football around.
Yep. And this has become my favorite one of the week. It's completions. Jayden Daniels has been a ridiculously accurate quarterback all year. Now, we don't count last week because he only played a tiny bit. It was 50%. I think it was 6 for 12. So let's go and look at the completions over this, last 5-6 weeks. The number this week is 22.5. If you don't count this last week, he has had 24 or 25 completions in 5 straight games. 8 of his last 9 games as well. He's attempted at least 30 or more passes. We love this. Now the counter. Well, guess what? The Bucs have given up the most completions to quarterbacks in the NFL. Number 1 in completions given up. So give me accurate Jayden Daniels. Give me all the completions he has had. You got Eckler back, which is really important out of the backfield. I love it. It's 22.5. I feel certain this number is going to move up. And by the time we get to game time, I will not be surprised if this is at 24.5. So give me over 22.5 completions on Jayden Daniels. I don't know if I want to go too crazy more. If it jumped up to 23.5, I can maybe get down with it. But this is a solid number for a defense that has given up completions left and right and a quarterback that is completing passes left and right.
All right. Jalen McMillan, a guy who stepped up and started to catch a lot of passes for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of late. We'll see the Lattimore health is potentially in this game. But Andrew Erickson, if Mike Evans is stifled a little bit, potentially, is Jalen McMillan really the pivot point? Because I feel like that, for me, Kate Otten had that little run there after Chris Godwin, and then it kind of just went away, and Jalen McMillan's been a touchdown machine. The number here for him is 51.5. I love the McMillan over with a touchdown. I love that little kind of skinny duo bet. What do you think about McMillan's chances of going over that number?
I mean, I love Jalen McMillan this week. Over 51.5 receiving yards. He's got 5 straight games with at least 51 receiving yards. And that's when they've been trying to force feed Mike Evans all of these contract incentives. So now you're considering, hey, we actually have an opportunity to go away from Mike Evans because he's going to be facing potentially Marshawn Lattimore. And we know that's going to be essentially a battle in its own right between these two teams. So I think McMillan could see actually a ton of volume in this game where he's kind of been winning with efficiency over the last 5 weeks. You pointed it out. He's got 7 touchdowns in the last 5 games. 7. Bro, nobody else has more
I
than
had
5.
him in every league. Don't even bring it up because I'm so frustrated because I had him in every league and he just wasn't doing it. I had to drop him in September. I mean, the end of September, I was like, okay, this guy's not part of the offense at all. What am I going to do? And then, of course, I never got to add anybody else who added him in between.
I just imagine what his season would have been like had he not also gotten hurt after Godwin and Evans had gotten hurt. He suffered an injury, had to step back. Yeah, so his he had kind of like a delayed breakout that we saw over the last 5 weeks of the season. This could have been even more from Jalen.
But a guy
McMillan.
we're going to be in on next year for sure. Like that's when he's like, I'm circling him for the big breakout next year, maybe. 100%. All right, 100%. So another guy we're in on, Jalen McMillan, and who knows, maybe he'll show up in the touchdown calls too. You never know. Speaking of touchdowns, use the touchdown score report at bettingpros.com/touchdown. If you're looking for an edge to bet touchdowns, well, our touchdown score report compares anytime touchdown stats to prop bets and projections to help identify the best anytime touchdown bets. Head to bettingpros.com/touchdown today for the latest touchdown prop analysis, the best you're going to find anywhere, only on Betting Pros. All right, touchdown calls. For me, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to go with Courtland Sutton, plus 160. Buffalo Bills defense does not impress me. I think you can score on them, and I do think there will at least be one moment here for Courtland Sutton and Bo Nix to feel good about themselves. Maybe it'll be a blowout. Maybe it won't be. We'll see. But I do think Courtland Sutton at plus 162. I really like this number. It's a good one. Then a little chalkier. Give me Terry McLaurin. There's a lot of guys at the minus for touchdowns. But Terry McLaurin, for me, is right on that bubble there, plus 115. I do think he will find the end zone. He has been that go-to guy for Jayden Daniels time and time again. Welsh, where are you going with your touchdown calls for Wild Card Weekend?
I like the McLaurin one. I'm going to go with Ladd. Ladd is almost 1.5. It's plus 145. You can probably shop around and check out some different numbers, but Texans have given up a ton of receiving touchdowns. Ladd is the number 1 guy, and he's been scoring a ton of those touchdowns. And then talk about keeping it simple. I'm going to go Josh Allen. It's minus money, minus 110. I think the Bills are going to blow this game out. They are a tough defense, and it's probably going to start tough, and that is where Josh Allen is going to go check, run. He's going to bring one in pretty easy. Wouldn't even mind going. I think plus 2 touchdowns is plus 500 right now, so 5-1 for 2 scores on Josh Allen. He's going to run one in, so Ladd and Josh Allen are my touchdown calls.
Would you put those two together too, if you're very confident of just, because we are in that space now where, we don't have a lot of football left, and everyone's going to, want to try to make as much as they can toward the stretch run?
Yeah, if I want to get nutty, sure. I'd probably throw Bucky in there as well. I love I talked about the prediction show. Yeah, the prediction show was go alt rushing yards on Bucky to 100 plus, throw a touchdown in there, and you can get around 2-1. So that would even be a little if you call it the skinny parlay, however you want to do it with an alt line. Yeah, so Bucky, Ladd, Josh Allen, those are guys I would probably look at parlaying this weekend.
I thought one of you would pick McMillan, but I'm just throwing this out there as a bonus one, plus 175 on McMillan right now in some markets. I love it. I mean, that's a great one to go in on. All right, Erickson, I know you've always got a fun one lined up for us too. You always kind of like to throw the big touchdown pass to somebody. Who is it this week? Yeah.
All right. Buckle your seatbelts. We're going to go down narrative street here.
Can I stop real quick? This is the grossest one you've done all year.
That's saying something too.
This is the most disgusting one you have done on this show in 2024 and now 2025 combined. Go.
Diontae Johnson plus 750 anytime touchdown for the Houston Texans. That's what team he's on. If for those that aren't aware, Diontae Johnson on his third team. He's facing the Chargers for the third time this season, despite not playing in the AFC West division somehow, some way. Look, he had 4 targets last week. He played with the second team offense with Davis Mills, but they talked about after the game, D'Amico Ryans talked about, hey, we want to feed this guy a little bit more in the postseason. And we look at the weapons on the Texans, it's Nico Collins and then nobody. They don't target Dalton Schultz in the red zone. And the one thing that Diontae Johnson did while he was on the Panthers this year for his brief stint was command red zone targets. He had 11 red zone targets with the Carolina Panthers. It's on his tape from 2024 when he was actually useful. And I think the Houston Texans know that. So with all the coverage going towards Nico Collins in the red zone, I think Diontae can score in this game. So give me Diontae Johnson anytime touchdown plus 750 because I think he's going to be on the field. John Mechie is banged up. He's injured. So he's kind of been operating a little bit, stepping up. They don't target Dalton Schultz at all. So I like Diontae Johnson.
You know what you need to do? First touchdown, Diontae. What is that
plus,
like?
Plus 3,500. It's plus 3,500. I already looked.
Well, not surprising at all. What about one more call here? Maybe something not quite as insane.
Maybe this will actually happen. So Tucker Kraft palatable again. Welsh, is that your word of the day? I think you said it a couple of times, and I
Yeah, it gets in my head.
That toilet paper is really working out for him. That's good.
Tucker Kraft plus 250. Christian Watson's going to be out for the Green Bay Packers, and Kraft has kind of been, I would say, Jordan Love's most reliable target in the red zone. When we talk about all the receivers that keep dropping passes between Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, who hasn't dropped a lot of passes? It's actually been Tucker Kraft. So he's been reliable. And when you look at the Eagles defense, they've allowed the least amount of touchdowns to running backs this season. So if they do score the Green Bay Packers, I think it's going to be through the air. I like Tucker Kraft to find the end zone.
Here you have it, everybody. Tucker Kraft. By the way, I was just playing around with this here. Jalen McMillan to score a touchdown. Bucky Irving to score a touchdown. Terry McLaurin to score a touchdown. SGP plus 869, boys. Plus 869.
You can get boost on. I believe you can get some boost on FanDuel every single game.
There you go. So just say, if only they would let me log in the place I live where betting is legal. Andrew knows this has been my plight all day long. I'm like, why can't I get in on any of my computers? I have to do everything on my phone. FanDuel, if you're listening, fix it. What are you doing?
Is that Joey P's parlay?
Oh, I might be the parlay of the day here going through here. But I mean, I'm looking, I'm like, okay, if we think this is the highest total, we all feel pretty good about Bucky finding the end zone. I feel good about Terry McLaurin. And I feel really good about Jalen McMillan. Like, I'm looking at like,
Saddle up, baby.
Saddle up, baby. It's going to be a fun weekend. I can see it right now.
Now just throw Diontae Johnson in and it's like an extra piece, and that'll be like 4,500 to 1.
Now, just to see what happens if I throw in Diontae Johnson at plus 700.
System's going to kick you out.
7,658. That's the number right there. So there you go. $1 gets you 76
and you get the long shot out of the way in the beginning, right?
Just put $1 on it. Put $1 on it, and I can imagine a world where Andrew Erickson, during the live stream, if Diontae Johnson scores too, and of course with Mr. Steeler on Scott Bogman having to watch that abomination Andrew Erickson's going to show up live in the chat.
Erickson, you got to do a guest appearance if Diontae scores while they're live. You have to.
You have to come in. Hopefully it happens in the first half, not the second. Well, look, it's going to be the first touchdown of the game. What am I saying?
It is.
So clear that's going to be what it is. All right. Those are the props. What are you in on? Drop your comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, join us live Saturday, 4:15 Eastern, in-game live betting right here on the channel. Scott Bogman, me, Joey P, and the Houston Texans game against the I almost said San Diego Chargers. Boy, oh boy. Los Angeles Chargers, folks. So there you have it. That is what the prop scene looks like for the wild card weekend. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on for the Welsh and the Undertaker. Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.